Hello, this is Dave Peterson with TC Life Safety with another installment of Ask Dave videos. Today we're going to talk about some of the goals, some of the expectations you should have from any kind of an alarm system, whether it be fire, security, card access, whatever. There are certain expectations. There are certain things that a fire alarm or an alarm itself can do, and there are expectations as to what you should see from the installation, from operations, and so on. So let's talk first about what does an alarm system do? Well, it has two functions, basically. It needs to detect, if it's a fire alarm, it needs to detect smoke. If it's a burglar alarm, it needs to detect somebody kicking in your back door. Card access, you need to be able to wave your key fob by a reader. It's all got to detect. And the other operation, the secondary operation, is to notify. Fire alarm's got to notify people in the building, call the fire department, right? Burglar alarm's got to call the police, maybe set off a siren on the roof or on the side of the building. And card access, of course, has to open the door. That's your notification that you're allowed to come in the building. So there's detection and there's notification. Now, as a building owner, facilities manager, the principal of a school, whoever you are that's responsible for these systems that are in your building, you need to look for four things from your system. First of all is reliability. It's got to work first time, every time, especially in fire alarm, burglar alarm systems. You need it to respond. You need it to detect and to notify. It has to be easy to install. If it's real difficult to install, it's just going to cost money, right? So an ease of installation is very important. Third of all is flexibility. I'll learn to count one of these days. Third of all is flexibility. It has to be flexible. Not only does your fire alarm have to detect smoke, it's got to detect carbon monoxide, it's got to operate your elevators, it's got to shut down your fans. There's a myriad of things that a fire alarm needs to do, other than just the detect and notify you and the fire department. It's got to have some flexibility built into it. Same with a burglar alarm or a card access system. Fourth, it has to be inexpensive to both install and to maintain. It doesn't do you any good if a system is inexpensive to install, but if you need to maintain, your detectors are always getting dirty, or if it's a wireless systems, a year or once or twice a year, you got to go out and replace 50 batteries because all the little door contacts are showing up as missing. It's not inexpensive, that's not reliable. So those are your four issues: reliability, ease of installation, flexibility, and inexpensive to both install and maintain. So what does that all have to do with these orange boxes I've got in front of me here? Well, this is a system by a company called Ramtech out of the UK. It's their WES Plus system. It's emergency warning and notification system. It's not strictly fire alarm, although we do have smoke and heat detection. We do have a manual call point or a pull station. Horn strobe. So it looks and smells like a fire alarm. And in fact, it was designed for NFPA 241 applications. NFPA 241 is the code that tells us how we need to protect buildings that are under construction. Whether it's a completely new building coming up out of the ground, or if it's an add-on, you're adding a wing to an existing building. This kind of system is very important. I'm sure you've seen the news where they've had a lot of fires costing millions and millions and millions of dollars at construction sites. Here in Boston, we lost a couple of firefighters in a fire because some hot work, some welding was being done in an adjacent building, and it set off a fire and took two firefighters. We have countless buildings and condominiums and structures that have been just lost after being 3/4 of the way through their construction because of fire. That's what this was designed for. We got a dust resistant smoke detector. That'd be great in an area where you're storing flammable liquids. We got heat detectors. That'll be in really necessary in places where hot work's being done, where there's some either roofing work being done or welding, any hot work, anything with a flame or a spark. Have a heat detector, or both heat detector and smoke detector. Manual call point is important at various locations on each floor of the building that's being done, because that gives you manual activation of the system. So if somebody has an emergency, whether they spot a fire or if somebody gets hurt, they can go to the nearest location, hit it, and the central command console will have an address for the unit that was activated, and people can respond quickly. The last piece I have here is the input-output unit. That would be used in case you had an existing building that was adding on in construction, and you may want to have these units report into the main fire alarm in the existing building, or vice versa, have the main fire alarm system report and activate these units when there's a fire in the main building. That's what this interface does. It's a two-way connection to a standard fire alarm. It can also be used in a building that's new construction. This can be used to activate a digital dialer, or they don't use dialers that much anymore. It can be used to go to like a cell or a radio box that'll go and talk to a central station, fire department, whatever. So the flexibility is there. It's wireless. Each one of these things has an antenna. There's no wires you got to string between these devices. They all talk to each other. And it's a mesh network. So if this one doesn't communicate directly with the main control unit because of distance, too much steel in the way, whatever, but it is talking to this unit, then this unit will transmit this unit's information through to the command center. So it's a mesh, and the more devices you have, obviously, the better the mesh, the better the network is, the stronger it is. So that's the reliability of the unit. The ease of install, it's wireless. A couple of screws, screw it to the wall, it's in. It's flexible because you can put any number of these devices, up to 999 units can talk to one of these central controllers. 999. And if you're doing hot works on the third floor today, you can put this unit on the third floor where the hot work's being done, and then they're going to move up to the fourth floor, unscrew it from the wall, bring it up to the fourth floor, screw it to the wall. No wires means it can be moved around. As long as it's in communication, you're good to go. All of these units run on those new lithium-ion batteries. And the lithium-ion batteries have a 3 to 5 year active lifespan in these units. Now, 3 to 5 is quite a range, but that's if you have a system that's going off all the time, it's only going to last you 3 years. If you have a unit that's pretty much quiescent and sits nice and pretty and it's only activated every once in a while, it's going to last 5. So we have the reliability, we have the mesh network, we have the ease of installation. It's wireless, just screw it to the wall. We have the flexibility because you can put these different types of units where they're needed, when they're needed. And it's inexpensive and easy to maintain. It's got everything that you need to go. Now we've talked about construction work with these. Another application for these is schools. Most schools that were built between the 50s and the 90s probably have a fire alarm system in it. But do you really want to rely on the fire alarm system to notify everybody in the building that you have an active shooter or a hostile event going on? That's going to bring all the kids out of the classrooms into the hallways, and that's where the shooters are going to be. We've seen it too much. So these units can be strategically put into a school in areas where adult supervision is obviously available most of the time, so that if somebody does see a suspicious person coming into the school, or sees and hears gunshots, they can hit this unit, activate these sounders, which are different than the fire alarm system, and the kids can be trained that they need to stay in place, lock the door of the school, get down, get away from any windows. It's a separate and distinct signaling system that can be utilized in an existing school. Again, reliable, easy to install, flexible, and inexpensive to install and maintain. If you have a tent that you put up at your school for graduation once a year, you could take some of these smoke detectors and put them and turn them on, tie them into the system. It's just a matter of a couple of presses of the buttons. Have them active while the tent's up, and when the tent goes down, shut these down, store them away for next year. Extreme flexibility. But again, it's separate and distinct from your fire alarm. You're not going to have kids running out into the hallways where they're going to be in harm's way. It's just another application for this. And there are countless others. Containers for shipping. If you have dangerous cargo, you may want to put a smoke detector in and put the captain of the ship have one of these so that he'll know if there's a fire event in his hold. There's countless applications for this. So with that being said, what I'd like you to do is to go on our website, which is www.tclifesafety.com.
Hey.
And check it out. Just type in WES and then the plus sign in the search bar. It'll bring you right to these units. You'll be able to see not only the pricing, the pretty pictures, but there's also brochures and data sheets and all kinds of documentation under the documents tabs right below the pictures. If you have any questions, you want to talk to us personally, call us at 800-837-8175, and we'll be glad to talk to you about this product. Thank you, and have a life safety day.